Hey, what's up everyone? How's it going? This is Watch from MW Technology, and for the past couple of weeks, we've been testing out a whole bunch of wireless microphone systems. It all started with the Shure MoveMic. It's an ultra portable, small form factor wireless mic, great for smartphones and full-size cameras. What we want to do specifically is see how the Shure compares against the big dogs in this category, including the Rode Wireless Pro, the DJI Mic 2, as well as the HollyLand Lark M2. We're going to go through the overall design, portability, form factor, as well as talk about connectivity, usability, and to actually see how they sound side by side in both a audio quality comparison, noise cancellation, as well as test out the signal to noise ratio to ultimately determine which microphone system sounds the best, which has the overall best features, and the one that I'm going to ultimately pick. So if you're interested, let's get right into it. Now, the first thing I want to mention is the price point. The Shure MoveMic starts at $249 for one microphone and a charging case. If you want the full set with two mics, the receiver, and everything, it's going to cost you about $500. The DJI Mic 2 starts at $220 for one mic and one receiver, and if you want to get the full kit, it's about $350. The Rode Wireless Pro is about $399 for two mics and one receiver, as well as a whole bunch of accessories, including two separate lavalier microphone connections. And the HollyLand Lark M2 is the cheapest, but there's a whole bunch of variants. For example, we have the USB-C version, which comes with one USB-C receiver and two microphones, but you can get the Lightning variant for about $150, or you can get the 3.5 millimeter connection if you want to hook it up to a camera for about $160. There's also the combo kit available, which allows for multiple connectivity. That's priced at just under $180, which is still significantly lower than the other microphones in this lineup. Now, since these are lavalier style microphones, you're going to be wearing them on your shirt or somewhere where you can capture good audio close to your mouth. So that means the aesthetics and the overall look definitely make an impact on your video. So for me personally, I think the most minimalistic microphone is going to be the best one. And in that case, I think both the Shure MoveMic and the HollyLand Lark M2 are very good in terms of design. They're very different. The Lark M2 is a circular form factor. It uses either a magnetic connection that you can just clip onto your shirt anywhere, and it's pretty minimalistic, but not as minimalistic with the Shure MoveMic. Sure, when the microphone is facing outwards, it is a little bit obtrusive, but if you flip it around, it still captures the same audio, the same distance from the mount to the microphone, but you could see that the actual look of the microphone is almost gone. It's a very small little nub that sticks out at the end of your shirt. Granted, with the Shure, you are kind of limited in terms of the mounting options since you can only use the clip-on attachment. There's no magnetic connector to kind of fit anywhere onto your shirt. But I think the trade-off is pretty good because it's also the lightest microphone, only weighing about 8.2 grams versus even the HollyLand Lark M2 is about 9 grams. The Rode Wireless Pro is the heaviest at 35 grams, and the DJI is kind of in the middle at 28 grams. Beyond that, the Shure is also rated for IPX4 certification, so that means it's semi-shielded from light rain and splashes of water, although you probably don't want to put this in torrential downpour or submerge it underwater. Now, in terms of connectivity options, the cool thing about both the Shure and the DJI Mic 2 is that they're both 2.4 gigahertz radio frequencies with the transmitter and receiver connection, but they also have built-in Bluetooth in the transmitter themselves. So you can connect it directly to a smartphone in the case of the Shure. And with the DJI Mic, you can connect it to a smartphone as well as the pocket cameras that DJI offers, including the Pocket 3, as well as their action cams. Now, when using the transmitters with the accompanying receivers, pretty much all of these microphones operate at 2.4 gigahertz frequencies. So that means a line of sight communication distance at about 100 meters or more or less, depending upon the unit, and the latency is anywhere between 10 to 15 milliseconds. Now, I did do some brief communication distance testing, and I did find the Shure as well as the HollyLand Lark M2 get a little sketchy past about 30 meters or about 100 feet line of sight, and I did find some signal drop-offs versus the inherent signal strength on both the transmitter and receiver on the Rode and DJI systems are a lot more stable and a little bit more capable in terms of further communication distance. Now, in terms of the recording capabilities, both the Rode and DJI have 32-bit float, which allows you to get greater dynamic range in your audio capturing capabilities, giving you more flexibility and less likelihood of audio clipping and distortion. The other cool thing is they have built-in recording capabilities with 32 gigabytes internally on the Rode and 8 gigabytes on the DJI Mic 2. Now, in terms of the microphone setups themselves, all 4 of these wireless mics utilize an omnidirectional polar pickup pattern, so they can capture sound kind of all around the microphone. In terms of how they sound specifically, well, we're going to get into the fun part over here and actually do a side-by-side comparison where I'm just going to speak in each microphone in a very quiet environment so you could just hear my voice where I state which microphone I'm speaking through. So let's get into it. This is the sound of the Shure MoveMic. This is the sound of the Shure Wireless MoveMic. This is the sound of the Rode Wireless Pro. Rode Wireless Pro. This is the sound of the DJI Mic 2. DJI Mic 2. This is the HollyLand Lark M2. This is the HollyLand Lark M2. Now after that, let's get into the noise cancellation test where we're just going to basically turn on and off the noise cancellation. We just have some static background noise coming from some computer speakers that just are about 2 feet away from the microphones themselves. And I'm going to tell you when the microphone is engaged in noise cancellation and when it's not. Just to keep in mind that the Rode Wireless Pro doesn't have any noise cancellation. So we'll just let you know what it sounds like just in its normal mode with some background noise. So let's get into it. This is the Rode Wireless Pro set to automatic gain in a noisy environment. This is the Rode Wireless Pro set to automatic gain in a noisy environment. This is the Shure MoveMic with noise cancellation turned off in a noisy environment. This is the Shure MoveMic with noise cancellation off. This is the Shure MoveMic with noise cancellation turned on in a noisy environment. This is the Shure MoveMic with noise cancellation on in a noisy environment. This is the DJI Mic 2 in a noisy environment with noise cancellation turned off. This is the DJI Mic 2 with noise cancellation turned off. This is the DJI Mic 2 with noise cancellation turned on in a noisy environment. This is the DJI Mic 2 with noise cancellation on. This is the HollyLand Lark M2 with noise cancellation off in a noisy environment. HollyLand M2 noise cancellation is off. This is the HollyLand Lark M2 with noise cancellation on. HollyLand Lark M2 with noise cancellation on in a noisy background. Now, the cool thing about using Adobe Audition is that we can normalize all the audio profiles coming from each microphone to minus 20 LUFS levels. So all the levels are pretty much identical from microphone to microphone. And then we can take a look at our actual background noise, turn noise cancellation on and off, and measure the RMS difference. And on the Shure, we're getting about 19 decibels of reduction in the noise versus about 14 decibels on the DJI Mic 2, and the HollyLand Lark M2 with noise cancellation on is getting about 12 decibels of reduction. Now, based on the measurements and actually what I'm listening to, I definitely think that the Shure is doing the best job in terms of actively reducing the amount of background noise and also doing a great job of gating my voice in between that background noise. So there's no kind of weird trailing effects or any kind of audio artifacts, and it definitely sounds the best in terms of noise cancellation. Furthermore, in terms of the signal to noise ratio, which is pretty much measuring the amount of hiss that is inherent in the signal, which has many factors. How good is your wireless transmission? How good is the natural distortion on the microphone? And how good is the DSP and overall signal processing of the entire signal chain built into the system? So in order to do this test properly, I went into a very quiet environment, hooked up all the receivers to my USB audio interface, which has better audio recording capabilities with a lower signal to noise ratio in order to maximize our results. And then I talked for a little bit and then went into Adobe Audition. After recording all my clips, I normalized all all the audio tracks to minus 20 LUFS to make the levels the same on all microphones. And then I went to the quiet parts of my waveform and then simply measured the maximum RMS value. This, of course, is the most scientific way of doing it since I don't have the most quietest environment and my audio equipment is just consumer based, but it'll give us a good relative idea in terms of how much hiss is coming from each microphone. And in the exact same scenario with all the exact same settings, the quietest microphone with the lowest signal to noise ratio, that is aka hiss, is going to be the Rode Wireless Pro. Minus 65 decibels RMS max was measured, and in the exact same scenario with the DJI Mic 2, it got about minus 61 decibels. The HollyLand Lark M2 was at minus 60, and the ShureMove Mic was the worst at minus 58. And based on what I can hear and what you can actually see through the waveform, the ShureMove Mic is slightly louder and has a little bit more inherent hiss in both the microphone or the receiver itself. Now lastly, let's talk about the battery performance. The Lark M2 by HollyLand has technically the highest battery life in the transmitters at up to 10 hours of recording with noise cancellation turned off, of course. And with the two transmitters that you get and the charging case, you get about 40 hours of usage with the entire system. Pretty darn impressive. With the ShureMove Mic, it's also pretty good. In low power mode, you get about 11 hours according to Shure, and in high power mode, about 8 hours with the transmitter themselves. And with the charging case that comes with the ShureMove Mic, you can get about 2 charges on each of the microphones. The Shure receiver, unfortunately, doesn't have a charging case, but the battery life does match each of the transmitters at 8 to 7 hours. Moreover, the DJI Mic 2 has about a 6-hour battery life, and with the charging case, you can charge both transmitters twice, so you get around 18 hours of usage, and the receiver itself is rated for 6 hours, same as the transmitter. On the Rode Wireless Pro, you get about 7 hours with the transmitter and receiver, and you get about 21 hours total with the case itself. Now, to kind of summarize everything we've talked about thus far, I'm going to go through the pros and cons of each microphone. I'll start with the Shure. Firstly, it's definitely the most compact and minimalistic looking clip-on mic out of the bunch. Put in its flip around position, it's basically almost invisible. And even though the Lark M2 is really small, very lightweight as well, it's still like a little circle thing that you're gonna have to pin on and can be a little distracting at times, but definitely a lot less distracting than the Rode microphone, which is just a giant square clipped onto your shirt. Another great thing about the Shure is that it's also Bluetooth only as well, so you don't need to use the receiver if you're just going to be using it with a smartphone or tablet, much like the DJI Mic. I also think that the application itself on the Shure is really well integrated. You can either use the Motive audio or video app to record your audio or a video. It has great built-in effects, much like the receiver. Super easy to use, and the recording quality is also very good. You can record 24-bit WAV files directly from the app. I also really like the receiver on the Shure. It's very easy to use in terms of control interfaces and has all the control parameters that you could do straight onto the receiver without using an app or anything like that. So you can change the effects on the microphone in terms of compression, add or reduce the noise reduction, as well as change the presets, EQ settings, and all your output settings as well. Very easy to use design, great outputs, and the hot shoe attachment is very convenient to hook up to a full-size camera. I also think that the noise cancellation on the Shure is probably the best that we've encountered thus far. Not only is the reduction amount greater than the others, but there's no weird artifacts or any kind of weird gating issues pre and post your vocal track, and definitely sounds the most natural as well. Now, what are the cons on the Shure? Firstly, there's no internal recording capabilities like what we have with some of the other microphones. You also don't have any 32-bit float options for your WAV files, so you don't have that same dynamic range or a safety track just in case you clip your audio track. The other thing too is that there's no 3.5mm connection for an external mic input, so no external lavs. You also don't have any place for the receiver to actually charge or be housed in. It kind of floats around. There is a case for the two microphones, but if you're going to be ultra portable and want to use the receiver, you're going to have to get some sort of sack or case to kind of house everything. It's just not as clean and as well thought out compared to the more modern systems that have an all-in-one charging case solution. Another minor thing is that it does have a slightly louder noise floor or signal to noise ratio compared to the Rode Wireless Pro, as well as the DJI Mic 2. And at $500, it is pretty expensive for 2 transmitters and 1 receiver, given the limitations that are inherently in the system. Now, in terms of the Rode Wireless Pro, firstly, it does have the best audio quality built into the transmitter microphones. So if you're looking for just the best audio quality possible, I definitely think that it's the best out of the ones that we've tested thus far. It also has 32-bit internal flow capabilities, as well as a very low signal to noise ratio. In addition to the fact that it has 32 gigabytes of internal recording capabilities, the largest out of the microphones in this lineup. On top of that, not only do you have a 3.5 microphone external connection, but it actually is supplied with 2 pretty decent sounding lavalier mics in the kit itself. And plus you have auto record, auto off, so you don't have to really turn the unit on and off. It automatically detects it through the camera itself, which is awesome. And last but not least, it has time code built in, making post-production a lot more streamlined and professional, especially if you're dealing with a large amount of files and clips to sync up to. Now moving on to talk about the cons, probably the biggest con is its aesthetics. It is the most largest and most cumbersome looking microphone. It always looks pretty awkward. It's almost like a meme at this point for having that large square Rode Wireless Mic on to your shirt. The other thing too is that the receiver itself doesn't have the great built-in controls, and to really unlock most of its feature, you're gonna have to go into Rode Central on the PC or on your smartphone and control all the different parameters that the microphone has to offer. And lastly, there's no built-in noise cancellation, which is definitely pretty limiting considering the extensive features and capabilities of this microphone. Now for the HollyLand and DJI, we're just gonna go through the highlights. Firstly, in terms of the HollyLand, it definitely has the best battery life, 10 hours with the actual microphones themselves. And with the charging case, you get 40 hours of usage, which is definitely pretty awesome. It's also probably the best sounding microphone for the price point at $130 to $170, $180. Definitely amazing. It is kind of limited in terms of what you can do with the microphone compared to the other big systems, since there's no internal recording, there's no external microphone inputs, and you're really reliant on specific receivers to get the most out of it, but definitely great value and probably the most bang for the dollar in this lineup. Now in terms of the DJI Mic 2, it pretty much matches most of the capabilities of the Rode Wireless Pro in terms of its internal recording capabilities. Granted, it's not as much at 8 gigabytes versus 32 gigabytes on the Rode, but it still has a 32-bit float for higher dynamic range. You have auto and off features. You can hook up external microphones. It's a pretty compact form factor, much better than the Rode, not as good as the Shure or the HollyLand. And the microphone quality for the price point, I don't think is as good. It sounds pretty mid-rangey, as we discussed in our audio comparison. And the noise cancellation isn't as effective as the system we found on the Shure. And ultimately, the DJI system for me personally just has some small minor compromises that just doesn't make it the best choice for me personally. And ultimately, if I had to pick one system out of the 4 we've compared, I'd probably go with the Rode Wireless Pro. It is definitely the most capable, most complete set out of the box. In that case, I think it's probably the best value. And plus, if you want the best overall microphone capabilities with the built-in mic, it's definitely leagues beyond that. But if you want to use your own high quality professional lavalier microphone, you have that connectivity, you have the most internal storage space with the greatest dynamic range, great noise floor, and ultimately that's probably why it is the most popular wireless microphone system out there. And if you're looking for the best one, you're probably going to go with the Wireless Pro. But really on that, guys, that's really it. I'm definitely super impressed with the Shure MoveMic. It's a great all-in-one system, and if you're just going to use it with a smartphone, it's probably the best one out of the other ones. But if you're going to use it with a full-size camera system, I think it is a little bit limited, but very, very doable as well. If you have any specific questions, definitely let me know. Now we're going to be doing another comparison with a whole bunch of different budget-oriented microphone, since I think you can get definitely a lot for your money at under $150 if you're looking for a wireless system, since there's so many competitive options out there. So definitely check out the channel for that video. If you haven't done so already, please make sure to like and subscribe, and give us a comment down below if you're using a wireless microphone system, which one you think is the best one. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you real soon in the next one. Take care.